My name's Stephen and I work in the student wellbeing team, and today we're joined by some of our colleagues. So maybe Rob, will we start with yourself?
Yes, hi there folks, I'm Rob Doyle. I am one of the student wellbeing advisors based in the Student Guidance Centre. So typically we'll be doing one-to-one work and working with students and staff and managing wellbeing issues.
Hello, my name is Kira. I'm a student wellbeing advisor here at Queen's. My job before was I was Senko in a large school. So I suppose my area of specialism has always been helping students and adults overcome barriers to learning and enable them to perform at their best.
And yes, I am Ryan Looney, and I am a trainee psychological wellbeing practitioner, or PWP if you just want to shorten that down. Essentially, I specialise in low-intensity cognitive behavioural therapy, so working with people with mild to moderate anxiety and depression. And during the course of this year, I have been working in Queen's. And yeah, essentially a low-intensity therapist, if you just want to narrow all that down for what I just said.
Great, thanks very much, Phil. Just there was a question there in the chat box about is there a mic button? So at the minute, we I think all of our attendees won't really sort of be speaking today unless you really want to. For a minute, just put anything you want in the chat box, and we'll get around to answering that as we progress throughout the webinar. But just to sort of officially begin, thanks for joining us for today's webinar, which is called Living Your Best Life, or Live Your Best Life, where and we're doing this event as part of Mental Health Awareness Week, where the theme for the week is kindness. So we're really excited to be joined by a mixture of staff and students right across the university. So hopefully you'll find this content useful, and you'll take away some learnings that you can apply to your life moving forward. We really felt that it was really important to do something like this as part of Mental Health Awareness Week, due to the fact that we're all sort of facing challenging times at the moment, and it's never been more important now to take pause and reflect on our current priorities in life. And despite the uncertainty, we know that there will be light at the end of the tunnel, and there is so much beauty to see in the world. So our hope is that by the end of today's webinar, you'll pick up on some practical tips and also some strategies that will help you to achieve what is important to you in life. So as we've already done introductions, and just for any newbies to the room, we're joined today by Rob, Ryan and Kira, who all work in the Student Disability and Wellbeing team. But as I said, all of our content will be applicable to staff and students. So they're going to lead on today's conversation for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then we'll sort of move into a Q&A section. There is a chat box on your screen, which you can send in questions at any point, and would really encourage you to do this to make it an interactive conversation. So I'm going to hand you over to Rob first, who will be speaking, and then we'll just take it in turns. So over to you, Rob. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. You can all see my screen okay there, yeah? Yeah, can you see my wee red screen there? Yeah.
Yeah.
All good. Excellent. Okay, folks. As you already know, then Rob Doyle, and what I want to do, folks, is I want to actually demystify this phrase, "living your best life." It's a hashtag that's used so many times. But what exactly does it mean? In this section, I want to shatter any myths around it, and to direct your focus towards a number of key words and concepts, essentially to help you in your own personal journey towards achieving fulfillment through progress. And just even some of those words there, fulfillment through progress, you'll see will resonate through my small portion of this presentation then. So first of all, living your best life, it's not about the grand gestures, things you're seeing on your screen there, the big pictures on top of a building, constantly doing certain things, achieving perfection by doing. And nor is it about eating pineapples with party hats on either. Typically, when we look around the internet, living your best life, it's usually surrounded by massive selfies with big shades on. You've got the big selfie light and everything else going on for people. But when we break that down, I want you to constantly think about the question: what is my best life? Because when we search online, I did this search here on the 16th of May, and at that point there were nearly 3 million posts with the hashtag living your best life. And a Google search of the same will yield, as you can see, there's 6.1 billion results. And that's articles, books, journals, videos, podcasts, video blogs. There's so many people talking about living your best life and what it actually is. But the key thing to remember that this is a concept that's been around for quite some time. It's actually something that Oprah Winfrey was speaking about in 2005. And she actually had one of her editions of her own magazine that had a collection of different ways that people are living their best life. And the key thing to remember there is that it is continually evolving. The concept of living your best life and what that is continually evolving, because we are evolving, we are changing, and the world is changing. And if you're writing anything down at the minute, I suppose it's important to note as well that you're actually going to get you can get a copy of this presentation as well. So if there's anything on the slides that is, it's too full, or you're jotting it down really quickly, you can get a copy of it here, and there will be links posted out afterwards. But what I want you to think about is this concept of change. So if you're writing anything down, write the word change down, because that is what this is essentially about, bringing about change to your life. And that is a very individual thing. We're in a time, as you know, a time of huge change. And with change comes challenge. But challenge isn't always a bad thing, because with challenge comes opportunity, in my opinion. And I want you to get comfortable with change as well. So back to the social media aspect of living your best life. This one here stood out to me. Okay, this is just one example of the use of the phrase within social media. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I am all for healthy nutrition and exercise. Okay, I have a treadmill there. I made a really, really good clothes horse for a while, but I've started to use it now in lockdown. But I'm also fully aware that we need to address a balance between what is realistic for people based on the demands of your current life and everything else. Now, I'm pretty sure that this festive green tinsel-looking drink here has amazing health benefits. But how do we look through the ingredient list? I was thinking to myself, my cup of coffee is probably going to win every single time here, because in my cupboard, for example, I don't exactly have 1 tablespoon of collagen. I don't keep it beside my basil or anything like that. So social media can sometimes actually portray unrealistic expectations of what your best life is. Do we really need to be drinking these kind of things whilst doing yoga on top of a mountain, for example? Is that our best life? Is that your best life? And think of the concept here of what is the recipe, okay, for your best life. This is actually something that was echoed then by a clinical counselor called Rebecca Turnbull, and she summarized in 2017. She summarized the concept of best life criteria as getting up before sunrise, extra points if you can catch the sunrise on a hike or a run, slurp back some green juice with your avocado toast, and then get to work in your minimalist home for a company you believe is making a difference. Now, that's all lovely and would be fantastic. However, she also noted that this concept is built upon the mantras of live the life you love and love the life you live, things like that. And you don't have to go too far. You go into B&M bargains and you've got these banners and everything else, and some of you may actually have them around your houses and things, and they're nice mantras to live by, but it's about making sure that they are actually achievable and realistic as well. Because it's all very admirable, but it does require a lot of free time and some kind of financial privilege also. And the thing about social media, folks, is that with social media, the concept of what a best life can actually be quite confusing to grasp. And we now live in a society where the correlation between rising social media use and declining rates of mental health have become more apparent by the minute. And it's sometimes hard to differentiate between someone who is actually really happy drinking green smoothies, for example, or someone who's just posting it to get likes or kudos from people that they're probably never going to meet. And the thing I want you to realize as well is that just because you're not doing the same thing as Instagram or X, Y, or Z, it doesn't mean that your life is not exceptional or that it doesn't have the potential to be exceptional. Think to yourself, well, what is the recipe for my best life? Is the recipe that you see from other people or the things that they're doing, is that the recipe for your life, or does your life require this different recipe? Okay, what is your recipe? So trying to break down then this concept of living your best life. How do we achieve it? And why does it sometimes feel that so many other people in our lives have actually got the formula locked down and they're able to do it? No pun intended there, by the way, with the phrase lockdown. The most important word here, folks, when you break this phrase down, it's you. Okay, you've got to strip away the filters, strip away the social media aspect of things, strip away what you feel is expected of you, and actually look at your own values objectively and with honesty as well. And that requires a bit of inward self-reflection. Okay, because what we want to do, we want to figure out what is most important to you and what matters on an achievable level. Okay, and that's going to require us then to look at things like our values and our beliefs. Okay. And it's here, folks, that we must identify our values and beliefs. So ask yourself, what do we truly hold as valuable in our lives? Is it love, family, authenticity, community, wealth? It's okay if it's wealth. It's not, doesn't have to be things that are, things like love and kindness and creativity. It can be tangible things as well. Respect, integrity. We need to look at ourselves and think, when was I most happy? When did I feel most fulfilled? And that will take a bit of time. It's not something we can squeeze into half an hour or an hour here. It requires you to go away and to do a bit of homework on that and to think back on things and reflect on who you are, what kind of person you are, or what kind of person you want to be. And it's only then by looking within that you'll be able to identify your most dear values that can actually work as a guiding force in your life. And I know that sounds like a really romantic gesture, okay? I almost feel like I'm doing a power grab, whilst I'm saying it, but it actually can be a guiding force in your life because it's what drives your progress. All right, it's the fuel for the process of it all. But remember to be patient when you learn how to find your purpose in life, because it's a pretty big ask. It's a pretty big ask to think to yourself, what is my purpose? Okay. And often when we're actually asking this question, you might feel, you might be feeling lost in life at times. Okay, you may feel ungrounded. You might feel like you're actually without a sense of purpose, and it can be quite disorienting. All right. Remember, you are on a bit of a journey as well, and we don't always have the journey perfectly mapped out, knowing where to go from A to B and everything else. But there's actually fun in that. There's fun in not knowing where you're going at times and actually engaging in that process of discovery. But if you do feel frustrated with your lack of direction, please just remember, actually be kind to yourself when you are engaging in self-reflection. It's okay not to know the who's, the what's, the why's, the when's, the where's, and the how's. Okay, because everyone who's ever asked themselves realistically and taken time to ask themselves, what is my process? They began from a place of uncertainty. All right, and uncertainty is something that we as human beings, we don't actually like. We like a degree of certainty. You like to know you're getting up and doing this. This is how you're getting there. This is what you're going to eat. This is who you're going to see. This is what time this is happening. So naturally, we like certainty, and a high degree of certainty in our lives is quite good. But it also creates a fear of uncertainty at times. And I need to tell you that the uncertainty is where the true power of your purposeful progress lies. Okay, because uncertainty is disturbing, and it takes us to get disturbed in order to stop and make a change. You'll see the phrase there on your screens. Disruption brings about change, and that's a key thing. It's a powerful thing. Disruption leads to change. If you're writing anything down, pop that down. It's quite handy. When you take a step into uncertainty, okay, when you put your first foot down into the sand, all right, hence the wee picture there, okay, you're saying, I'm here, and you may not have a clue what you're doing. You may not know where you're going or what you're doing, but you've made the first step, and right now, that's actually enough. Okay, because making that first step is the hardest part at times. So put your footprint in the sand, folks, and find your bigger purpose. My challenge to you is to get disturbed. Okay, and you're probably thinking, why, Rob? Why are you challenging us to get disturbed? The key thing is, folks, is because you are here in this webinar today, because regardless of your life, regardless of your circumstances, you may be feeling that something needs to change. And that's something that's within your life. And only you truly know what needs to change. And beginning that process of trying to develop what your purpose is and setting the goals, which we're going to talk about later on, is the best first step in relation to that. Okay. So if you have asked yourself then, what is my purpose? What you're really asking for, folks, like I said before, is progress. Okay, and progress leads to fulfillment. Fulfillment these days, folks, it isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And the reason I say that, the reason I say it's a necessity, is there was a recent research there conducted in 2019 by the Journal of the American Medical Association. And they actually show that finding your purpose is linked to living longer. They surveyed, as you can see, there's nearly 7,000 adults on the relationship between mortality and finding your purpose. And what they found, folks, was that participants who did not have a strong sense of meaning in their lives or purpose were more than twice as likely to die prematurely as those who had figured out their purpose in life. I know that sounds really morbid and everything else, but what I'm trying to promote here is that this is actually a health decision as well. It's about your health and your life, and it's actually crucially important. People who had a sense of purpose also had a reduced incidence of cardiovascular events like heart attack and stroke. And these results they found were universal, even when controlled for income, race, gender, and education level as well. I'm quite conscious that we have a very diverse range of people within our webinar today as well. And researchers concluded essentially that asking yourself what your purpose in life is and then finding it is as important for longevity in life as living a healthy lifestyle. So it's almost like drinking that green drink is important because it's got, it's got the healthy stuff in it. But purpose is up there as well with that. What are the steps then to finding your purpose in life? Now, I have 12 steps here, okay? And I'll very briefly go through them because I don't want to eat into my colleagues' time here as well. But you will get copies of this, and there'll be a handout that outlines what each of these are. And they're not a step-by-step process where you have to follow 1 through to 8 or 10 or 12. Pick a few that you like, okay? And just take some time to reflect on them. And it's actually a combination of the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment that actually leads to the road of happiness and a life of meaning. And to succeed in finding your purpose, it's important to try and address this balance. So some things to consider, okay, first and foremost. Searching inward. So the questions like, what are my purpose in life and how can I be happy? You may have already asked yourself this, what do I need to do to be happy? They're actually the same. What is my purpose and how can I be happy are actually the same questions. And if you let your past conditioning, your past experiences, your past thought processes control how you evaluate that and dictate how you discover your future purpose, you're going to live a life, perhaps folks, based on others' expectations. And you can never truly understand how to find your purpose by looking outside of yourself. Everything you need, it's actually inside you. It's right at your fingertips. It's down to you to actually try and find it. And whenever Ryan's talking about goals, I want you to bear that in mind, okay? Because your goals are personal to you as well. Putting your purpose before your goals, okay? If you focus only on achieving short-term goals, you'll never find your true passion or learn how to find your purpose. The goals you work towards must always be based on finding your purpose, okay? Again, something to remember there in the next section. Focus on what you have. If you develop a value system and focus on an abundance mindset, simply by looking around you and being grateful and thankful for the range of things that you actually have or have access to, you'll question less and less how to find your purpose because you'll actually feel like you have more of the answers and that you're actually on the path to achieving meaningful goals as well. Next one then, folks, is taking ownership of your life. That's something that we sometimes don't always do. We might find ourselves in a certain career path, educational path, other paths that may not be actually always within our control. And true fulfillment comes from designing your own life. You're the architect and designer of your own life. And this is how you actually begin to unlock the extraordinary elements of yourself. To find your purpose, you decide what's truly right, and know in your heart and soul that that is what you want and what you want to go after. Okay. And always remember, try not to be driven by any fear or anxiety. We talked earlier on about being comfortable with uncertainty, and that uncertainty brings about change. And I asked you to get disturbed. When you engage in the self-reflection process, you may get disturbed, okay? But view that as a good thing. When you unsettle things and shake things up, that's when you can bring about the most important change. Number 5, examine what already comes easy to you. Within this webinar, we have a range of skills, we have a range of knowledge, experience, okay, that are each unique and individual to you. So for example, can you pick up a pen and sketch a lifelike portrait? I've always been able to pick out a tune on a piano, for example, or other instruments. And when you look closely at the activities and skills that have always come easy to you, you'll likely stumble upon passions that you actually turn into a profitable career, okay, or otherwise are a really enjoyable hobby as well. And that could be, it doesn't have to be something you can produce. You know, it doesn't have to be things like the big sketch or the musical piece. You know, your skill set may be being able to help people, for example, and that's intangible. You can't put your hands on that and sell it. But it's a skill set and it's really valuable to the world as well. Number 6 then, folks, is developing your own life vision statement. So before you can ask yourself, what is my purpose? You first have to know what an ideal world looks like and how you fit into it. So creating a life vision statement, for example, it involves identifying what life would look like if everyone were living up to their fullest potential. And this will help you personally in developing your own personal roadmap in the proper direction. Because your personal life statement, your life vision will be different to mine, be different to everyone else's. Okay. Number 7, think about what brings you joy. So when asking yourself the question about what is your purpose in life, some people don't even know where to start. And that's okay, that's fine. If you fall in this category, it helps us sometimes look back in your life and identify times whenever you felt the most joy. And that's something I talked about before. When did you feel the most joy? When were you most naturally happy, naturally fulfilled as well? Was it when you were with your friends, your family, your partner? Was it making a successful presentation at work? Okay, I might look back on this and think, I was happy at that time, or we can do that again. So when you discover what brings you joy, you usually discover where your passions lie, okay? Again, there's that word passion, folks. It's something we don't always think about. And with passion, there's energy, okay? If you could do something with passion, it's going to bring about joy, fulfillment, and you might actually even feel like it's work. Writing out your story is the next one then. So writing helps us organize our thoughts. If you've ever blogged or journaled or anything else, it's nice to get your thoughts out and actually start working through them to identify what they are. And sometimes we can discover ones we don't even know that we had. And we've all encountered obstacles in our lives as well. So whenever you're writing out your story, think to yourself, what strengths did I elicit from that time in my life when I had those struggles, when I overcame those challenges? How have you helped others, for example? And how have other people helped you? And when you put your life in writing, sometimes you can reveal hidden meanings that you might not have seen otherwise, because our memory sometimes plays tricks on us. We forget incidents and people and events, and we don't actually always extract the strength from them and the meaning. Number 9 is take some time for yourself. I know that Kira's going to be talking a bit about that later on, so I'm not going to go over that. Number 10, embrace acceptance. Do you accept yourself for how you are, as you are? And it's important to accept your limitations at this stage as well. Accept what you can't do. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Give yourself a break. It's okay to give yourself a break. Just like we picture the wee monkey before, you know, when you're doing that self-reflection, acknowledge both your strengths and weaknesses, and practice a wee bit of self-compassion as well. Number 11, find your community. Finding your purpose in life, folks, is often about discovering where you fit in. And when we meet our people, okay, we feel like we're at home, we're relaxed and at ease, and able to truly be ourselves. And you know that phrase, you're the sum of the number of people around you. I don't know what the number is exactly. But surround yourself with people who are on a similar mission to you or share the same values and goals as you. Okay? Because that will have a massive impact on you and how you actually look at yourself, look at other people, view the world as well. And we'll actually go some distance there to help you find your purpose. The final one then is be flexible. Okay? I'm not talking about yoga on top of the mountain again here. Your purpose in life is likely to grow and change as you grow and change as well. So because your mission statement may have been this at some point in your life, doesn't mean it has to be the same 5 years later. It can change and grow. So what I'm essentially saying here is this period of self-reflection, continually do it. Take time for yourself and assess, where am I at now? Where do I want to be? And do I need to change anything in order to get there? This is another diagram then that you'll also get. We're going to send you a link as well. You see the wee star in the middle there? That is essentially the sweet spot. You can see how just by trying to find your purpose, there's a lot of work to be done in and around there as well. So think of things that which you're good at, things that you love, things which the word needs, and things that which you can be paid for. But within that are those words I talked about before: your passion, your mission, vocation, profession. Okay, and where they all overlap is the sweet spot there. You get a copy of that. So if anyone's trying to really quickly sketch that down, you don't need to. We'll get you a copy of it. Okay. So to sum up, folks, some of the core concepts we've explored so far, I want you to consider the 3 words here in front of you: goals, achievements, purpose. And ask yourself, which of these will bring you true happiness? Goals like completing your degree, getting a job, buying a house, for example, or starting a business, they will yield a sense of achievement and progress, and they're definitely essential to living the life you desire. But the question, do they bring you true happiness? Is there more that you can be doing to achieve your purpose? Because the purpose of the goals is not to simply achieve them, but the purpose of the goal is to consider what it makes of you as a person and how you develop and who you become during that process. And remember, folks, to always bring in your values and your beliefs into that process as well. Ryan's going to talk very shortly here on goals and setting goals. So bear what I've told you in mind here in relation to purpose, progress, and purposeful progress in particular. And to finish up then, folks, in terms of my side of things, I just want you to just take a wee look at that quote there. Let your intuition guide you. You are what you've been looking for. It's actually inside you. Thanks very much. Over to you, Ryan.
Right, thank you very much, Rob. Oh my God, I'm making one of it. Can you hear me okay? Is the slideshow up? There we go. So, okay, hi guys. As Rob just said, I'm going to basically talk about goal setting and how to set your goals. Now, to follow on with what Rob was saying, in order to reach your true aspirations in life and what you feel you have purpose, which is going to be individual, everyone's going to have their own idea of what purpose is, an idea of what their aspirations are in life. But to keep up to date and happy with the things that you find important to you, whatever that is, it is crucial to make goals and try to aim towards them. As you can see by Rob's pyramid, goals is the very bottom, it's the foundation. You need to have your goals, you need to know where you're going. Without realizing, you make goals every single day and you move towards reaching them. Whether that is deciding what you're going to do today, even signing up for this webinar, that was a goal in and of itself. Or what you're even going to have for dinner tonight. You may not have thought about it too much. You may have thought about it all day. But whatever it is, you're making this goal and you're starting to move towards it. But when it comes to uni work or things that may seem a little, too out of reach, it's too difficult. It's way in the future. It can be difficult to know where to start and if you're moving in the right direction or not and how to stay motivated towards it. That's the big key thing here, is motivation towards your goal. So we developed this thing called SMART goals. And as you can see by the slide there, they stand for specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, relevant and time bound. So they're slightly different than any sort of regular everyday goal. And they sort of aim to hit these key 5 areas. So you can get sort of an objective goal that you know that you've reached yourself. Now, I'm going to go through each of these different aspects today, and so that you can get an idea of how to structure yourself a SMART goal and how to write it yourself and how to aim towards that final big goal at the end, the long-term goal. However, I may be using examples in this goal setting, but I want you to know, as Rob has stressed before me, whatever is important to your life is important to you. It doesn't need to be important to me, family or friends. It doesn't need to be important to anyone else. This is whatever you feel important and you want to work towards. This could be career work, like university work, hobbies, your job, social aspects, or even, you could have mental health goals. You want to be happier. That's absolutely fine. So the first aspect then is specific, okay? Now, this ensures your goal is entirely directed and you know exactly what you're going to target. Now, at the start, you may be thinking about this massive long-term general goal that you want to reach at the end and not sure what your first step is or how to go about reaching it. But it's the same as a degree. You look at your degree, if you think about it, it's a massive thing that you reach at the end of a few years' work. And all of us here have done, you're in Queen's, you're signed up for this, you've done degrees. You know what a degree is like. It's a big, massive thing. But a degree is split up into years, which are split up into semesters, which are split up into modules, which are then split up into specific assignments for exams or for particular modules. And even those exams and are split up into different questions, and the assignments are split up into different sections. So once you've got everything split up in this manner and you said, oh, I've got to complete my degree by next week, or I've got to complete a small exam in comparison to the end of the degree overall branching, cycle. It's a lot easier. So if we were to further use the example of a degree, as I said, a particular exam is split up and each question is split up into different sections. So when you're thinking about this specific category, you're trying to tell yourself, for example, well, what do you need to revise to look over? What is involved in this topic? What do you know? What do you not know? What do you need to revise? What do you need to do your work? What are your resources? So computer, lecture notes, and when is the best time to look over them? So dates and times. So you're getting really specific down to key detail what exactly you're doing. If we're to use another example of the general goal of losing weight, that's nearly a goal that everyone can kind of jump on the bandwagon with, because at least at some point in their life, someone has had that idea. Now, losing weight is a very general goal, but when you try to break it down into dates and times that you want to lose weight and the resources you'll use, so how you will do it, for instance, running, or which of course you need appropriate resources such as running shoes and appropriate clothing. And if you were to set date and time such as every Tuesday or Thursday between 7 to 7:30 p.m., it makes it a bit more manageable to handle rather than saying, I'm going to lose weight. Because now you have this kind of specific chunks you can take in and add it into your daily, weekly schedule. Now, the next aspect is measurable. Now, goals should be capable of being measured to see if you can achieve them and met them. What's the point of a goal if you don't know if you've met it? Or it's a gray area, well, it kind of did it, but it kind of didn't at the same time. No, you need to be able to make your goal, I did it or I didn't do it. Because this allows you to then lead towards what Rob was talking about with progress. You can't have progress if you don't know if you're even making any steps towards the right direction in the first place. So the point of this area is to ensure without a doubt in your mind that you can objectively measure that you've reached the goal that you set. However, this is probably the trickiest area. It's a bit complex and it's a bit difficult to get your head around. So you have to think a bit creative to get around to it. So for the example of an exam, it's a bit difficult to think of because how do you know when you know it? How do you know when you know the material for your exam? Well, most exams have past paper questions or additional and supplementary questions similar to those asked in the exam. So you can now measure your performance based on your ability to complete these. Adding that to the end of a revision schedule is highly important because you can now objectively measure whether you know what you're meant to know. So now you can have the measurable aspect to it. For the example of losing weight, it depends on every individual, of course. Is it 1 pound or 50 pounds you want to lose? But putting this number to it can help you visualize your end goal a bit easier. You're not just working until you become, buff and massive in weightlifting competitions. You don't need to do that. Your own personal aspect is to lose 1 pound. That's fine. But you having that end goal helps you visualize it a wee bit easier. So the next one is attainable or achievable. Now, don't set yourself up for failure. You want your goal to be achievable. You're not going to get a doctorate tomorrow within your first year of your undergraduate. It's not achievable, and don't be thinking like that. There's no point in setting yourself up in this manner. So making your goals realistic is highly important to make sure that you can actually achieve them. They should be a challenge, of course, aiming towards progress. Progress is a challenge. As Rob said, disruption equals change. You have to have this bit of disruption, this bit of a challenge to yourself, but they shouldn't be impossible. This area is also highly related to the time-specific area, which we'll talk about in a wee second. But for the exam example, is revising an entire module's worth achievable in 2 hours? Even though most students maybe do their work at like 2 hours before the deadline, is that really achievable? Is that really sustainable? Or maybe giving yourself a bit more time and planning a bit ahead, would that be a wee bit more beneficial? Or are you putting additional pressure on yourself to think in the manner that you can get all this stuff done in such a short space of time? Also, that not only will just be near impossible, but adding on additional stress to you. And studies have shown that adding additional stress affects your recall, it affects your ability to do your work in the first place, and all other mental health aspects. So you're just impacting yourself even more by putting additional stress, which you don't even need. With regards to losing weight, are you going to achieve your end goal of losing 10 stone tomorrow? Probably not, unless you go for liposuction. So think more logically the idea in mind that it should be a bit achievable. So the next aspect then, the R, is relevance. Now, the idea of relevance is not only that what you're doing is relevant to the end goal, for instance, running to help you lose weight or working towards your exam to earn your degree, but also examining it in the wider context, as Rob has said, and understanding why you're setting that goal in the first place. Your goal should be purpose-driven, a purpose that you have personally given it, not anyone else, not what someone has told you or said. If someone else wants you to earn that degree, that's not your own purpose. You're the one putting the work into that degree. You're the only one putting the work in to lose weight. You're the one putting the work in to go out and socialize and stuff. Therefore, the idea that the goal should then be appropriate to you and that the reward of reaching the goal should be appropriate to you and what you want is so important. So trying to ensure that working towards this goal is for yourself and your well-being in the long or short term is vitally important. Are you working for your weight, exam, or mental health, for yourself, your benefit, or someone else? Like, keep that in mind and what Rob was saying, because are you working for yourself or someone else? Are you trying to keep someone else happy and content and putting yourself second? The idea is trying to prioritize yourself. So the next bit then is time-based. So this is the last area of the SMART goals. Now, your goal has to have an endpoint or at least a point of review, to make sure you're going in the right direction. And a time set to when you're actually working on this goal. So again, highly related to the achievable section. You don't want to spend a massive amount of time every single day towards this goal. You want to make it achievable and realistic to your world. So firstly, to ensure that what you're doing is working towards your end mission. So if your end goal is in 2 years' time, you're not going to be able to see much improvement over this time and no sense of accomplishments. You may wait for years and end up being no closer to your goal than when you started, or worse, you could have moved in the opposite direction. Therefore, being able to set small short-term targets that you're able to achieve within the next few weeks is highly important. And the idea for this is to help ensure that you keep moving in the right direction. You're going towards this end goal. It's the same way you hit this exam and this assignment. Your exam should have, I'm not sure about all courses, but I think most exams should have finished. That exam that you hit was going towards your end goal of hitting the degree. Now, you're on the right track because each exam and each assignment adds up, but your track, your base, you're hitting these short-term targets to get this end goal of reaching your degree. So ensure that you're spending the right amount of time working on your goal at an achievable timescale as well. As discussed before, you're not going to revise 10 hours straight every day. We're working for 2 hours with an hour break in the middle, and then maybe repeat once or twice more. It does seem a lot more manageable than saying you're going to revise 10 hours straight. It depends on each person and what personally works for you, but the idea that you do set yourself time to relax and think and review and look over everything is really important. Again, with the idea of you losing weight, you're not going to pull a Forrest Gump and run straight in one direction for days on end to lose weight. Maybe 30 minutes every second night sounds a lot better rather than trying to go for that shrimp. We as a people thrive from hitting our targets and reaching accomplishments. Therefore, setting one every couple of months to make yourself feel better isn't really going to be that sustainable. But having some goals, some short-term goals every couple of weeks, even if they're only the small goal to hit a larger end goal, can help reinforce your skills, your abilities, and your self-esteem towards then reaching that end goal, making every step towards it that much easier. So kind of putting it all together is the idea of putting all of these, the idea of the SMART goals together. It may seem a bit long-winded, but no one's going to see this goal beside yourself. This is your own personal goal. So as long as you can understand it, that's all that matters. So for instance, it may seem a bit long-winded, but going for a run every Tuesday and Thursday for 30 minutes between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. until I lose 5 pounds every 2 weeks, measured using a scale in the house in order to be more healthy. That is so specific. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly when I'm doing it. I know I can do it. I know it's relevant to me losing weight. And I know that it's got a time base and I know where my end goal is. It seems a lot better and more manageable than just saying I'm going to lose weight. So another thing to remember though is important to remember to word your goal positively, not negatively. So there's the idea to be less unhealthy. Well, that's negative. You want to word it as to be more healthy, which is more positive. It's a very subtle difference, but it's important to get in that frame of mind that makes you want to strive to reach the goal that you've set. Remember, you're working towards something you want to work towards and want to achieve. You're not running away from something else. So wording it negatively may put you in the mindset of going, do that another time. Just keep pushing it, procrastinating, pushing it to the side. You word it positively, you want to strive to reach it. So try to think more positively in that regard. So the next thing to remember is maybe set only 3 short-term goals to begin with that you can maybe reach over the next 2 or 3 weeks. You don't want to inundate yourself with goals and then being tied down to 16 weekly goals you've set yourself. It's just not possible. That in and of itself is not achievable. You can even do the SMART goals with regards to your SMART goals. It's not achievable to set too many goals in a short time. As I said, short term, over the next couple of weeks, and achievable within the next couple of weeks, even if that's not the end goal and that's you wanting to reach a further end goal and work towards it in the long term, it's so important. It allows yourself to see results and keep motivated towards that end goal. So reiterating what Rob was saying, which is really important, is, are your goals purpose driven? Are they for you? What is the purpose of them? Are they for someone else, or are they for your own well-being? That is so important with the idea of goals and being purpose driven. It's your purpose, no one else's. And lastly, I want you to remember that keep reviewing your goals. They can be trial and error. It might not work a certain way. You might decide running is not the best way to lose weight. You might find you don't like running. You might not find that out until you try it the first time. But allowing your goals to be adaptive and not a rule to live life by is important. This is a set goal, not a rule that you have to live your life by, and you have set it yourself. Sometimes there will be instances that may cause your world to turn upside down. I think we can all agree right now that is a situation that is happening. That may upset your normal weekly plans. You may have ended up going to coffee shops with your friends every Saturday and stuff like that. That's not your fault that this has happened in the world and it has upset your plans. So you need to allow your plans and your goals to be able to adapt with reality, because that is crucial. Your goals should live within reality as you do. They do not live outside of reality. So as I've just reiterated everything kind of Rob was saying about purpose goals and the idea of SMART goals, just always remember, if you're going to write, as Rob was saying, if you're going to write anything down, remember that you should always write change. And the idea with the SMART goals is they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Now, you will get a copy of this this lecture slide, and also I'm going to include a booklet that goes through goal setting in a lot more detail than what I've tried to do in this short space of time. But hopefully you get the idea that this is how you're meant to set your goals and aim for those short-term goals. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Kira, and she's going to talk about your mood. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you, Ryan. That was really helpful. I'm really pleased to be chatting to you today. So what I would like is for you to take a pause today on Mental Health Awareness Week and week 9 of lockdown and think about, are you taking care of you? Or are you at the end of your priority list? This is the last part of the presentation. So can I just invite you at this point, if you have any questions in mind, if you want to input them into the chat box there, we'll do our best to answer them at the end of the presentation. So my first slide here is really tying together what we've all said today and what we've talked about. So Ryan has just touched upon having the knowledge and the skills that we need to be able to achieve our goals and having the skills to do that. Rob spent quite some time reflecting on reevaluating our current situation and thinking about our value base and really recognizing at some points in our life that we might need to take a different direction. So we're just going to move on to the next slide. So yeah, love a bit of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. So I think the underlying message here is, how do we become more resilient in achieving our goals? And how do we make the process more enjoyable along the way? Because I suppose ultimately it's the process that is life. So we have to ask ourselves, is process more important than the overall outcome? It's important to remember that it is the process that changes us and makes us evolve. So I suppose that's where the magic is and where we need to spend most attention and pay most attention. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so there's 2 brains here, and I suppose in student wellbeing, you can see the common life today brain that we see coming to us mostly, and I suppose it's students that really aren't looking after themselves or aren't thinking about self-care. And you can see the outcomes there and the results that often leads to decreased efficiency, and students really saying, you know, I'm not leading my best life, and how do I improve? You can see below the second brain or person, and I suppose that's a person that is looking after their self-care, okay? And you can see the results there, the increased focus and performance, skillful response to difficult emotions, increased empathy. And I suppose this might seem very simple, but at times when we're in a challenging situation or we're feeling a lot of stress, it might be difficult to see a different way, or it might be difficult to see the negative impact that it's having on us. And sometimes we need others to help us to achieve that and to progress in the way that we want. Okay, so we'll just move on then. I'm sure many of you have seen this before. It's something that we widely use in student wellbeing. Okay, so this is really your 5 a day in maintaining and improving your own well-being. Okay, so it's reinforcing the importance of connecting with others, being active, taking notice, and that could be just taking time to look outside, notice nature around you, keep learning. And I'm conscious that a lot of you are maybe still in assessments, but also, you know, keep learning, thinking about hobbies, thinking about something that you might want to take up, self-investment and investing in yourself. And also giving to others, and that could just simply be giving someone a hug today, or just taking time out with others. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide, and I've created here a self-care timetable, because yes, we have Take 5, but it's really important to think about how can we incorporate that into our daily and weekly routine. How can we take care of ourselves and have that mindful brain that is performing at its best? And I suppose also then thinking about what Ryan has said, this might seem very overambitious for many of you there, sitting with a really hectic schedule and with lots of people to take care of. But I suppose it's breaking that down. And even if you can think of one thing a day, but in that example of the timetable there, we're thinking about all the time, our mind, our body and our soul, and trying to take the time out for that for ourselves. Okay, and then so just moving on. So students will often come to ask us, how do I make myself more resilient, and how do I perform better in stressful situations? So today, before this webinar, we were all feeling quite stressed, and this is a little strategy that you can use to try and calm yourself down and you know, really deal with challenging situations the best you can. So if you think about a little quick technique that you can use, you can actually boss your mood and reframe how you think of anxiety. Okay, so the first thing is to think about your body. Okay, never underestimate the power of your body in terms of re-energizing yourself to overcome a challenging situation. Okay, so yes, exercise is important. Okay, but thinking about your posture. When I was a teacher, in between lessons, I might have jumped up and down, shook myself off to try and get ready for the next lesson. If you think about athletes before a competition, exercises, you know, you think about actors going on the stage, they really will spend a lot of time thinking about their body and getting themselves ready. Posture is important too, so you can, there's a little trick of imagining you have a hanger down the back of your blouse to sit up straight. That also helps with your breathing. Smiling is important too. So I just want you now to do this for me. I want you to think of a really challenging time that's coming. It could be an assessment, an online interview, a difficult conversation that you have to have. And I want you to think of it and just hold it in your mind for a second. And at the same time, I want you to smile. So it's almost impossible to feel the same dread, okay? So we're thinking about our body, our posture, smiling, and then also the breathing, and that helps us with our breathing. And one of the things that you can do is when you're practicing your breathing, some people are calling it belly breaths, okay? So that's breathing from your stomach. You know, you can put your hand on your stomach. Nobody needs to see that you're doing that. And making sure that when you're breathing, that you're breathing in from your stomach, maybe for 3 seconds, and then you're breathing out, but you're extending that exhale, so you're thinking about breathing out for about 7 seconds and doing that. Okay, but this takes practice. There are lots of apps out there that students will use and say that has helped them. So that's something that you might want to think about doing. Okay, so the next point is S. Okay, so we also, sorry, just back to the last slide. The S, we want to think about our self-talk and the energy that we get from that. Okay. So we tend to talk to ourselves, remind ourselves of all the bad moments, and I suppose as a human brain, we're trained to notice what's not good. So if we can instead, think of our proud moments, and there's been some interesting research done with students who wrote down their proud moments every week, and they were able to increase their IQ performance by 10 points. So after this, I invite you to write down all of your proud moments. The other thing that can help with self-talk and energy is having a purpose mantra. So it could be, I'm doing this degree. I'm going to do this because I want to teach children with special needs, and that's something that's really important to me, and that's what I'm passionate about. It could be that I want to help save lives. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to. I really want to provide for my family, and remembering that. And when you have challenging situations, going back to the positive self-talk, okay, and remembering that, if you think I will take more from this experience than it will take from me, but again, it's something that we have to practice, and it's something that just doesn't come overnight, and that we almost need to train ourselves to do. And once you've thought about your body, your energy, your oxygen, and you're thinking about how your positive self-talk, you've re-energized yourself, and that self-talk then will allow you to take a positive action. And that, as Ryan said, you can break that down and start small, with maybe 1 or 3 goals. Okay, so we're going to then move on to the next slide. So BOSS is one strategy that you can have saved up your sleeve when faced with a challenging situation. But Ryan is going to take you through a short practical exercise that you can also try when faced with a challenging situation, or just to help you recognize points in your day when you may need to incorporate a little bit of self-care.
Thank you, Kira. So again, hi guys, again. So the idea of this exercise may look strange, but it is very, very helpful. So we're just going to take a minute here to try. So to be relaxed, so to properly feel relaxed, it's important to know the difference between tension and relaxation physically. So then, therefore, if you're physically relaxed, it's much easier to be emotionally relaxed, allowing you to get on with it, whatever you want to do. It's hard to do a uni assignment when you're fully stressed, So how many times have you been sitting, not realizing you're physically tensed, even if you're in bed watching TV, until you feel a pain in your jaw and noticing you're clenching your teeth and you're sitting like this, and you have been for about 2 hours. So the first thing I want you to do, and I'm going to look like an idiot here on camera, so you don't have to because I can't see you. So please ignore how stupid I may look. But what I want you to do is I want you to clench your jaw, unless you're already doing that. But clench your jaw and tense your neck for 10 seconds really, really tightly. Like this. Okay? And again, I look like an idiot, but tight for about 10 seconds. And if you're holding it now, keep holding it. And then I want you to slowly release it. Not very quickly, very slowly. And feel the tension difference in your head, in your mouth, in your jaw, and in your neck. You can massively feel the difference between an open mouth and a closed, tensed up mouth. Now, another exercise then is almost like the fetal position. So get your arms close to your chest, tighten your arms up, all the way up your muscles, and your fists, all fingers tighten in, really, really tight, okay? And hold it again for about 10 seconds. Once you've got that, again for 10 seconds, really, really tight, relax and slowly release it again. And you can feel the difference in tension between your arms and your muscles and your hands and everything. We could do this all day with different body parts and everything, but just try to keep this in mind whenever you're sitting relaxed and doing uni work, that you are physically relaxed and not tensed up. It's the same way Kira was talking about posture there, and you're not sitting like this, like Quasimodo doing your essay for 2 hours long. that you're nice and relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed, everything is relaxed, your entire body. If anyone was to lift up your hand, it wouldn't hold in the air, it would just flop because it's nice and relaxed. So try to remember this and try to keep the idea that if you're physically tensed and not relaxed, it is completely different than being physically relaxed and then emotionally relaxed. So again, you can even curl up in the fetal position and stuff with your knees up and everything. You don't have to do this in public or anything. It could be just when you're doing your assignments or everything, and doing your teeth is probably the less noticeable one. But just keep that in mind, that there is a difference between being physically relaxed and physically tensed. But thank you, Kira. I'll lead it back to you then.
Thanks, Ryan. I was definitely feeling a bit tense there, so that was very helpful. So yeah, I think it's important to reflect upon what we feel are the barriers within us, preventing us from living our best life, and by recognizing what they are so that we can take the first step to overcome them. And I've included just a little plan there to get you thinking, I suppose, about your own emotions, where they're coming from, and I suppose become a scientist of your own emotion, recognize where they're coming from, and then help you plan how you might overcome those. Okay, so moving on then to the next slide. Let me see. Yeah, so I've included here, this has been really helpful for some students. This is from Inspire, which is a counselling organisation which works in partnership with the university. They have so many downloadable self-help resources and interactive resources that you can access by being a student. So you can see the link there. You'll get all this anyway, and the pin there for you to access those. Okay, this is an example of a coping planner that you could, sorry, this is a mood tracker. So what you could do over a period of time is track your mood, and then, you know, think about any triggers that are maybe making you feel not at your best. And if we move on then to the next slide, you can see how that can be plotted out, and then you can identify, you know, maybe periods or times where you're not feeling at your best and overcome those. The next slide then is the coping planner, just that I mentioned there before. So I suppose what happens when we neglect self-care and self-love is we can often adopt negative coping strategies. And sometimes just by writing those down and thinking about them and thinking about the full extent of the negative impact can help us take a step towards making better choices. Okay, and then moving on, so a lot of students will come and ask, but how do I change my habits? How can I build resilience? So I've just included some tips here. Some of these we've talked about before. I've included a little link to a blog. It's Dr. Gervais, and a lot of students find this useful, but it's a morning mindset routine. And, you know, I've suggested it to some students and they said, I don't have time for this. This literally takes 60 seconds in the morning, okay? And I suppose the purpose of it is getting you to connect your body to your mind and just, I suppose, getting in the moment. And it takes 60 seconds. And so many students have come back and said that that has really helped. Just that one thing, that was their goal, one thing every morning that they've tried that, and that has helped. Some students are, I suppose, engaging in a gratitude practice, and that could be in the morning or nighttime. And it could just be that some students like to write it down themselves, some with their families, you know, around the dinner table, talking about and trying to make it really specific. So today it could be, I am really grateful for the mango I have in the kitchen that I'm going to make my salad with at lunchtime. Okay, I'm really grateful that I got through the webinar today without a technical glitch, you know, something like that. But that has really helped. Again, it's that positive self-talk. Okay. Another thing is accepting and acknowledging the feelings of stress. Okay, stress is very similar to excitement, which maybe, you know, in those difficult periods that you reframe that. Okay, again, you know, with that, it's accepting the things that you can control, and then, you know, the things that you can't control. Okay, and trying to adjust and adapt, as Rob talked about earlier. Okay, again, so recognizing your emotions, maybe using some of those self-help tools to think about where that's coming from. Use the boss strategy to take control of difficult situations. a yay moment practice. Okay, so that's again at the end of the day, writing down, the positive moments, the things that you succeeded in that day, and using your self-talk mantra. So having that learnt off, so that when you're feeling not at your best, that you just recite that. And also trophy moments is a good little technique that you can use. So that could be over, say, a period of a few weeks, that you write down all your achievements and you have those. And there has been research to suggest that students perform better when they do that and when they use that practice. Okay, so moving on. So a lot of students are asking us now about lockdown and how we get a healthy life-work balance. So I suppose never has it been more important to take time for self-care and self-love. But actually what we're finding is a lot of people are working even harder. And there's a real pressure in society that we must be productive all the time. And I'm finding that in lockdown, I suppose we put that pressure on ourselves too. We think, oh, well, we have more time. We need to do this. We need to do that. But actually, no, we don't. It's okay to take a break. So some tips there that may help, if you're having difficulties with working spaces. You may wish to just use a room upstairs away and then come back down. I know some people are really restricted in the small spaces that they're living in, and that can be difficult, but maybe changing where you are at different parts of the day and trying to get outside. Stick to normal working hours. So what we're finding is that, because there's no commute in the morning, you're not traveling into Queen's, maybe you're straight into the work and you're just not disconnecting and working, and that can really lead to burnout. So it's really important that you're sticking to normal revision study hours, okay? And I would revisit study hours if needs be, and also that, yes, study and work is important and having that timetable, but actually, the self-care timetable that we talked about before is just as important, if not more important, okay? Remember the daily exercise, mind and body, connecting with others. Technique that I have found that has helped is getting changed. So having work clothes and then having evening clothes. It's just has helped me connect or disconnect in the evenings after work. And doing an exciting activity at the weekend. It was a colleague had told me to do that, and just something. I know it's hard to think of exciting activities, but something maybe just a bit different. Just to take a walk somewhere that you haven't been before, and create a commute in the morning. So instead of when you wake up and as soon as you have your breakfast, the laptop's opened, try and think of something else that you can do, just to have that little separation before you actually start into work and the day ahead. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to finish off. Before we finish, I just want to remind you of all the services that we have available to you. If you have any questions about anything covered today, or any queries about your own personal mental health that you feel has stemmed from what we've discussed here today, you can contact us via the emails and the numbers here in the slide, and also through our social media platforms. Okay, we've also included the details for Inspire Counselling and Lifeline in case anyone needs it. Okay, can't emphasize how important it is to make connections, especially at this time. And to remember that at some stage in our lives, we've all had to ask for help. And if anybody tells you they haven't, they're telling you fibs. So, from first year student right up to Hillary Clinton, at some point in our lives, we will need to reach out, or we have reached out and asked for help. And that's what we're here for. So the details are there for you. So just to conclude, it's important to remember that feeling emotionally well and understanding how to look after your own self-care is a journey, and it takes time and it takes practice. It's not something that you can just do in a week or after just one webinar. So it's really taking the time and thinking about that and realizing it takes time, and don't let it become another thing in our life that we beat ourselves up about. So I think now it's time, maybe, I don't know, to go to some questions. If there's anything that you would like us to answer, so I'll invite everybody back to see if there's Any discussions there?
Yes. Do you want me to take the question, Rob?
Yeah.
Yes, that first one.
Yeah. So we got a question there. I'm just trying to find it. So without going into too much detail, basically a difficulty of self-reflecting and having negative thoughts, and then consistently ruminating on these negative thoughts, which may be, it's highly important at a time like this, whenever we're sitting in and maybe we are alone and we're not seeing our friends and stuff like that, and we're just being able to ruminate in our own mind, in our room, because we can't go anywhere or do much. So one of the techniques that I would use is called cognitive restructuring. Now, I can also include maybe a wee booklet on this as well. It's a guided self-help thing. It's very, very easy and user-friendly to work through. But the idea of looking at your own thoughts more objectively, and that's the key term here, is objective. So being able to look at it from both sides. So for instance, a lot of people have the negative thought of, my friends don't like me. Just something like that, negative thought. Well, okay, you've took that thought, my friends don't like me. Well, where's the evidence for that thought, and where's the evidence against that thought? Now, we're looking at evidence, and I mean concrete evidence. You're saying that they are your friends, therefore it's evidence against. Maybe your friends didn't invite you out once, that's fine. Have you went out without your friends before? Being able to look at things objectively and being able to look at it from a different aspect is so important with regards to negative thoughts. So if you are getting a negative thought at a time like this, being able to sit back, even write it down, get a page out, write down the thought, and try to write down evidence for and against it. Remember, as I said, we're looking for evidence. I'm not talking about, just jotting down, I feel like this, I feel like that. That's not evidence. It has to be concrete evidence. It can help you view things maybe a wee bit more realistically in a time where maybe you can only think irrationally. And it can help you manage your anxiety a wee bit better by looking at things from both aspects. Also, remember, if you get trouble with this, looking at evidence from both sides, to include, boyfriend, girlfriend, family members, if you want to, of course, or imagining it was them that said it to you. So your friend said to you, I don't think my friends like me. Well, what would you say to them? Would you say basically, rise up, because maybe you should think I should say that to myself then? So being able to look at thoughts objectively is so important. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here about the question, but basically, yeah, if you're having negative thoughts, try to think more objectively about it. So being able to sit down, write down the thought, and look at it from both sides of the aspects, and look at it both sides of the argument. But yeah, did any of you have anything to add to that? Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent.
Well, just I suppose going back to the positive self-talk mantra, I suppose that can help too. And maybe some of those gratitude practices as well. And yeah.
We thought this coming to my mind when you're talking there is now, don't think I'm crazy here, okay? But I want you to imagine that you're actually the guardian of your mind. All right, so you're like the door person, all right? You're like the bouncer of your mind, and you decide who gets in and who gets out. Okay, so if you exercise a bit more control over the thoughts you're having, the thoughts you're letting in, the thoughts you're letting out, and you start to filter those and say, no, actually, you know what? Not tonight. There, not with those shoes on. Okay, we're sorry, your name's not on the list. It's about control, because you can control your thoughts. Like Ram was saying there, you actually can flip things, restructure them, reframe them. And sometimes it can come down to looking at, like Kira was saying, the impact on your body. If you change how you're sitting, standing, try and incorporate those things that we've been talking about there, and change those thoughts, because you are the master of them. And we often forget that, because our thoughts lead to feelings, and then we just run away with ourselves in relation to that. And
I think trying to get yourself into a calmer state, so moving out of your head into your body. It could be going and taking a bath, or a bit of mindfulness, or surrounding yourself with nature, and just taking one small step, and maybe as well thinking about those emotions and where they're coming from, and what the triggers are around that, and then maybe thinking about what you need to change a wee bit to help you with that, I suppose.
Yeah, and just actually to reiterate, what Kira was saying earlier about the whole idea of working and not knowing whenever you're meant to stop is so important. And again, it kind of relates to SMART goals and making it achievable and relevant. as Kira was saying, you need to be able to know when to stop for the day for your work. And an actual wee tip that I think helps me personally is I wear different clothes whenever I do my work and whenever I don't. So I wear jeans and shoes and I'm a jumper and stuff. But whenever this webinar's off, I'm going to put on sweats because I know that's my work done for today. And I know there's a physical change there between my work and my relaxation. It's the same way Kira was saying about a different room. I don't do my work in my room. This isn't my room. Because if I was to do my work in my room, then I would then get distracted by things and looking at other things and not being able to then relax when I'm in my room in the relaxing state, because I'm thinking then about too much to do with work that I should be doing and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess, again, on a bit of a tangent, but I think it's just important to remember that you should, as Rob was saying, you're the guardian of your mind. You need to be able to know, also being able to tell yourself that's enough for today and I can relax is really important.
Yeah, productivity guilt is something that we are all experiencing at the minute, and particularly in these times. You feel like you should be doing more, adding things to your list and completing everything. But it is important that when you do get one of those tasks completed to give yourself that pat on the back, and to bask in the glory of getting that one thing done before moving on to the next one. Otherwise, you're just going to feel like you're on a hamster wheel, just constantly turning. And it's important to remember as well that productivity guilt is an actual concept as well. It was discovered in the 1920s by a Russian researcher. So it is a long running concept. It just reminds us that you do need to engage in self-care in order to get things done. And it's okay that if you get 7 out of 10 things on your list done, that's okay. That's good for today. That the other 3 can wait until tomorrow.
Yeah. And sorry, just looking. I don't know if everyone can see the chat or is reading the chat, but there's a lot of people, a lot of other students are putting in, ideas with the havening technique, a video on my channel on YouTube. There's a couple of things people have said you can look up and see on Google that we haven't even mentioned. So they're great areas to look at on Google. As well, just one of the answers there, back to the thoughts that it may come across as selfish or arrogant. I understand maybe thinking in the opposite form you may think to yourself, I'm being selfish, I'm being arrogant. But I have this question to say to you: who can read your thoughts? No one can. Only you can read your thoughts. You can be as selfish and arrogant as you want in your head, because no one else can read your thoughts. No one else can see your thoughts. No one else is pulling that out and going, they're being selfish in their head again. They're thinking that they should deserve that. No one else can see that. So you can be as selfish as you want in your head. It's all about your behavior then. But if you're thinking a wee bit more of putting yourself forward, you're going to behave at least a wee bit more, not aggressively. I'm not saying go out of your way to be putting yourself forward all the time, but you need to be able to remember that you can put yourself forward. You have the ability, you have the right, as every human has the right to. Everyone is equal. You have the right to put yourself forward in situations, especially when you feel either you're being wronged or there are people that are saying nasty things to you or that you're not happy with what's happening. You have the right to be able to stand up and say things like that. It may not always come across the right way, I understand that, but the idea of it is with regards to your thoughts, no one can actually see your thoughts. It's only you. You know what I mean? It's just there's a key difference there between behavior and thoughts. Sorry, just my laptop was going to die.
Okay.
In relation to those links and stuff as well, when we send out the packs and the resources, we'll attach to some of the links, the helpful links that people have put on there as well. So you can click into them and stuff as well.
Awesome. Is there any other questions?
Oops, I suppose it's there's a few links there at the end of the presentation. So if anyone does want to get in touch with us or has a question or an email they want to send to us there through the links, please feel free to do so after this webinar as well. Conscious people have tuned in for the time slot allocated, and we're over time a wee bit there. See there, yep. We'll get those resources emailed out to everybody, a link with all that stuff on it.
Awesome. Okay. So yes, thank you for everyone for tuning in and listening to us ramble on. Really, I hope you got something from it. I hope you got at least one bit of thing to take away from it that will help you in the long term. It is a very difficult period for all of us right now. I mean, even the fact that we're doing this over a webinar and we're not able to actually do a presentation. But thank you very much for tuning in, and hopefully you take something from this.
Yeah, and let us know if there's anything else, specific that you would like another webinar on. Definitely send that in to us, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. And, have a lovely weekend. And if you're off on Monday, enjoy the extended weekend as well. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.